can see, the spoolie boy, the fun boy is installed. Let's go over what I did. So we have the up pipe here. Sorry, I'm getting situated. Up pipe's tightened down. I forgot the gasket the first time. Added the gasket. I need to find a plug to plug this oxygen sensor hole, because you are no longer needed. We run 100% on the wideband. We no longer have the stock set up and have no need for any of the stock O2 sensors. So up pipe's going. I think I explained this before. I talked last time. My neighbor graciously welded on the bung for my EGT sensor. Now some people who are really into tuning will be like, oh, that's not a great placement, you want it closer here, coming straight out. And that's true, but this is more for seeing the overall pressure coming out, or the temperature coming out, and making sure things are not going too crazy. So I'm not getting that crazy into the tuning. This is just for my sanity. So up pipes there is installed. Turbo brackets and turbo bracket are installed. It took me a minute to figure out how to put those because it was a weird puzzle. So let's talk about this turbo, right? FP red, amazing, great. I'm excited to be using it. Although some people have been commenting that it's a little too small for this big old engine, and I kind of feel like they're right, but let's not worry about that yet. So let's talk about this oil line, right? FP. Did I install it wrong? Am I doing something wrong? But look at that bad boy. And it's a braided line, so it's not really flimsy too much. So with these V25 heads, which I just talked about, you're going to use the L side of the line to come up here into the banjo and then go into this feed. This was the right back there, this guy. That was the a line for the old system that you would use. So it's funny how they kept some of the holes for the B25 setup and just plugged them in this case. In this case, I plugged it because IAG provided that. Oh, and when I plugged it, I'm plugging it with this stuff here. Some gasket maker, high temp. It's just red high temp gasket maker from Permatex to plug it. What was recommended. Next thing. So with this, you have this line, right? This is gonna come to the body. Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to fold it in, right, and tuck it here. Maybe tie it, zip strip it here to the breather system. I guess it's huge. Maybe I installed it wrong, or maybe it's supposed to wrap underneath and behind the turbo. But let's talk about that, because I'm a little concerned about what people talked about. I'm sorry, I'm scooching around. So here's the back, right? Here's where the turbo sits. Here's where the transmission's gonna bolt up. My current issue is the way they put this V-band clip for the exhaust housing to go to the turbo. Oh, I'm sorry, God, I cut myself pretty bad. We'll get that out of the video. So if you notice right here, this little dimple from that V-band right there is very close to the housing of the transmission. I'm a little concerned that might bump. You can kind of tell, like right there, it's just close enough that it might be an issue. So I might have to turn that. I'm pretty sure I can. I don't see why there's a reason why I can't, but I'm going to call FP just to make sure and to get like the torque specs on that bolt in case I do have to turn it. But I'm not sure. Oh, I guess I do see it now, don't I? I just noticed that. This is like real time, guys. Let's see. The turbo sits. I'm pretty confident the turbo is sitting flat. And what I'm seeing, what I'm seeing is, if you look in, let me get my little pick. If you look right there, you can see it. The housing on the tops. I can't even speak right now. Wow. I can't even remember the words. So the housing is hitting the case. So people were right. It does actually rub on it. When I look at the turbo, it looks to be, oh, it's not. Okay. It was really kind of hard to tell. It's a little dark in there. But when I look down right in here, this is where, do I have my flashlight? Yeah, I got a flashlight right there. Yeah, it's not, you can see the gasket there on the turbo, and this can go down a little bit more. I might have to come up with a solution to that. I've heard people running spacers. Can I let more light in on this thing? Hold on, guys. No, that's it. I've heard of people running spacers on that stuff to lift the turbo a teeny bit, but I'm worried about that. I don't want to lift the turbo too much because then I'll have issues with the intake. So I might actually have to shave that down like people recommended. I do see it's there. Alright, let me figure that out and I'll get back to you guys. Alright guys, hey, welcome. I'm in the garage, freezing. Good old Florida's like 41 degrees right now. It was like 35 this morning. Good old cold Florida. Even though I'm from Detroit, from Michigan, I love the cold. But actually I hate. Been here for over 10 years now, so I kind of got used to the heat and not the cold. But engine here. So let's go over a lot of things, right? I think I've kind of been making some videos here and there and not really putting things together, organizing it, but that's fine. It's not what that's the way I work. It's the way I do it. I wanted to record some of the stuff, and I'm actually doing it. Unfortunately, like I said, my buddy's here with his 1989 Harley Davidson FXR. His belt broke, and he's converting it from a belt drive to a chain drive. So he's been working on that a lot, and there's been a lot of background stuff going on. So fortunately, it just didn't work out, even though this is a big deal to me. But I'm doing my best, and I think we'll be just fine. So I think last we talked, I was having issues with the turbo fitment and a few other things. So I wanted to go over those and discuss them. So let's jump right to it. Okay, so let me get this guy rotated. I have to go back to the videos and remember exactly where I left off. I know we talked about the lines, or the cam gears, all that stuff's being replaced. I know I talked about that. It's sitting over there. Yeah, okay, I think we're caught up. So, we'll get the turbo in just a quick second. Actually, we'll start with that because that'll be easy. Right down here, and I will get a flashlight, maybe, possibly. Let me go over here and get this little Harbor Freight guy. Sorry for the blurriness, guys. Alright, so nothing's metal. There you go. It's magnetic. So if you can see, right down there, I had to shave the metal. It basically used to look like that. And I had to cut a decent amount of metal away from here on the actual block. Yeah, I didn't want to have to do that. Let me see if I can press the focus. There we go. I didn't really want to have to do that, but I really didn't have a choice, and all my options were kind of limited, right? So, turbo is much bigger than the stock turbo, and it's even bigger than that 20G that I used to have. So it has issues fitting, and because of that, you have to come up with a solution. All right, so I set you down real quick. What I ran into, and I think the best angle is if I come around here, is that it was hitting right there, and the angle is going to be hard to tell. Wow, I can't even get it with the camera. Can I? Trying, guys. I know I can see it down here too, like right here. I don't know if I can get it to focus there. Hold on, guys. Get some light there. Yep, you can kind of see it right there. And it'll actually, when I move it. See how that's right there? So that's what it looks like when it's bolting down. So you have like, what, 2 millimeters maybe? Something like that in the gap. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I'm sorry, I'm so zoomed in. So yeah, you have basically enough of a gap there that it won't be too much of an issue. So as long as you grind down that portion here, I basically have this is an air, what do they call this dang thing? An air die grinder. You can use probably a Dremel, but this has just worked faster. And this thing has, this thing does not focus. Sorry, guys. It's got, as it spins, it turns and it hits the aluminum. Basically, it's got these cleats that stick out, and it cuts the metal and it grinds it away. So that's pretty much what that thing does. It cut away whatever I could here, and took care of the metal. Now I got pretty close to the screw hole, but only at the very edge. So the rest of it should be just as supportive, and it seems to be the common thing. Some people said they also had to cut the turbine housing, which I did not want to do. I did not want to touch this turbo because if I want to resell it down the road when I go rotated, I don't want, that's just ugly. Who wants to, get a cut turbo from somebody? Who knows what else they've ever done to that damn thing, So yeah, so it's fitting, it's good, it's close. I'll probably end up putting, I don't know, some kind of rubber on the block there and figuring out a way to attach it just in case. There should be no flex, but just in case. Now, I did want to point out, there was one other thing that people suggested is the turbo bracket here and the one right there. You could drill out the hole and make it kind of long, like a rectangle, and allow your up pipe to kind of slide along that bracket, and you could bring the turbo forward or up higher a little bit to clear that area. But there was to me another issue that would have came up, and that would have been fitment with the intake manifold and the intake piping. So I avoided that, cut that, and it worked out perfect. But I'm still curious about this FP line. But let's go to number 2. What's going on with this? All right, so that's good. Turbo's great, right? Let's talk about the intake manifold. Because when you set this bad boy down and it lines up, and you're going to see something ahead of time, but I wanted to wait to show you guys, but no worries. You can see where the holes you drill, or the holes for the bolts are, and it sits right there in front of this turbo, like FP, like what? Like, this is supposed to be just a plug and play system, but that doesn't line up too well. And to get that curvature, it's just not going to work. So, unfortunately, I've already kind of made it work, and I'll show you what I did. But let me get this in here real quick. I need like 4 hands for this. That'd be great. All right, slide this boy in, and if you can see, it's just not going to line up. So it looks bent because of the solution I have, but that's a pain in the freaking ass. And let me tell you guys, that's just it's a pain. I don't see it. So I went through like 2 or 3 hours yesterday of coming up with different options to try and get it to fit. And in the end of the day, the solution was pretty simple. First, I basically took off the TVGs. And I found some pictures online of the custom ones that are the aftermarket ones. I'm just setting this up real quick. And I basically turned my stock TVGs into regular TVGs, or aftermarket TVGs. Light was too bright, hold on. So I cut the hell out of this shit, right? This whole thing used to look like this, right? All this metal, the holders, the TVG, even the... Hold on, just get my finger. Even the hole for the bolt, I went through and cut that whole thing out. I even cut the bolt hole itself out. I probably didn't have to do that once I figured out my other solution, but I clearanced a lot of this TVG stuff out, and that gave a lot of room to fit that tube in there. On the aftermarket TGV parts, you only bolt on the bottom. So I will no longer be using the long bolt. That would not have been good. I no longer use the long bolt. I'm going to use a short bolt for this one, so that shouldn't be a big deal. So that's another thing that you might have to do. Just go at it with a angle grinder and clean it up with some kind of Dremel or something. So that's the other thing. Cut the hell out of this. But the third and best thing, and hold on, let me set the camera down. Let me show you guys what I did here. That was a close-up view. So, intake piping, right? And intake piping, you guys are gonna get a view of all this stuff over here. So the intake pipe, you can see it's no longer circle. So specifically with this Torque Solutions intake pipe that's specifically for the FP turbos, they have a wire bound inside, which is pretty normal, I guess. But the cool thing about it is that wire that's bound is about 2 inches in, about right here, right? So you can actually technically form, see it goes back to a circle, but when I press in here really hard, I can kind of form that pipe. And what that does is that allows this thing to fit around that TVG intake area to get to the turbo. So all I have to do is basically, as you can see, just mimic this front part a little bit, and it will fit across the turbo, and then this part is still flattened out. So I don't have to put that extra push and effort on this to make the TVG work. I know, pictures do 1,000 words, but that's the gist of it. That's how you're gonna get this giant, big ass thing to fit under this thing to fit on that thing. So on the internet, when they say it fits barely is the worst word. They say it fits because 1,000 men shoved it in there and made it fit. So yeah, that's enough of that. Along with that, because of that big ass intake and because of the TVGs, I had to make some other changes, right? So typically you have this cross pipe going across here, right? It's backwards, and it's probably backwards or something. So this one is where you would normally tie into your upper coolant, the upper cooler tank reservoir, or upper coolant tank, we'll just call it. And it comes back down here, hits this hose, which then runs down to, let me get this flashlight brighter for you guys, runs down into the water pump. And then you have this upper part, which has 3. It goes to one of your PVCs, PCVs, the other PCV, blah, blah. And then it pulls from the short block itself here and connects the heads, short blocks, and all that stuff together. So that's where this middle pipe goes in. This stuff is no longer going to be used. We'll set you right there. Now, the reason I did that is because that pipe, this one here, and this one that happens to be on this side of the engine, the turbo side of the engine, it hits that intake manifold, and the intake piping. So it no longer fits. It crushed it too much, and it was a problem. So I just bought some T's and some 90s, and I'll just make my own stuff with heater hose, and it should be fine. Not a big deal. Silicone hose was just too expensive. So that's another thing you probably have to do. You're gonna have to remake and move around a bunch of stuff. This hose back here used to be for the throttle body. It's a throttle body cooling hose thing. I don't know where my throttle body is. I'm over there. My throttle body's right here. So you have these two ugly caps that I put on for now, but these two pipes used to house this pipe. So I just basically said screw it and bypassed it and put it on over there. So I don't need it right here in Florida. It's too hot. So that's it for now. I really want to talk about that turbo. That was the big deal, and kind of explain what I did with that and what happened. Everything else around it's going to be good. There should be no other issues. Everything else is mocking up pretty good. So I'm just waiting for that AVCS line I think we talked about in the previous video to come in. those hoses and 90s that I ordered, it was actually cheaper on Amazon than going to the store. So those are coming in. And after that, I can start putting it back together. Oh, and then the Subaru dealership will have the timing stuff that I need um, for the other parts. And then the AVCS gears and stuff should be in this week as well. So it'll probably be a little short break in between. I'm going to set it aside, cover it up, and leave it where it's at. And we'll go when I get the rest of the parts in. Thanks.